All right. Well, just some real quick housekeeping. The OCI staff will be passing out some note cards that you can use to write down your questions as we go through the presentation. And that way, if we don't get to all the questions, because we're going to fit in each of our carriers during this time, and we may run out of time to answer questions, but we will be collecting all of those at the end, and we'll get back to you on the answers here early next week if we don't hit in on stuff today. So anyway, if I haven't met you before, I'm Paul Scholes, Vice President of our group department at OCI, and it's just my privilege to introduce our great carrier speakers today, and we're going to start first and foremost with Mr. Mark Bilski, who's Vice President of Group and Account Management. So.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, OCI, for the opportunity for us to be here today. I think that you guys said it best when it's awesome to be out and see faces. I've been at a desk at my house now for almost 6 months, and I'm going stir crazy. So this is a nice opportunity. We appreciate it. I do want to say one other thing before I get started, because we're going to do an update in the 10 minutes that I have around what's going on at Blue. But the Lane Thomas Foundation, what a great organization. Not that anyone here would want to do some exercises, but our booth there is a bike, and that bike has a mixer attached to it, and when you ride the bike, it mixes a drink. What more could you ask for? And for every one of those that you get on and you do that, we're going to give $50 to the foundation. So, yeah, go out there and ride, baby. All right, I better get going, because pretty soon I'm going to have the 3-minute warning that's going to be coming up. So let me see if I can advance this correctly. There we go. So update on Blue. We're going to talk about what's kind of going on in the fourth quarter and January 1 of 21 relative to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I'm going to start with group improvements. These things are going to be coming out of the chute end of this month, first part of September. So you will see brochures that will wind up being available around, well, actually those are all available right now. SBCs and our contracts will be available after 9/5. I know that there's been a lot of questions that have come from the different broker partners throughout the state about this information. So I believe it's a little bit ahead of the curve of what we normally do. But to kind of help with that as well, Michelle Jackson and Laura will both assist through having a special Q&A with OCI that they'll be getting in touch with the team and working through that process, and then that will filter down. So hopefully, if you have questions around these types of things that we're talking about on the slide this morning, please stop by the booth. We've got associate members in every line of business that can help answer questions relative to what you might have this morning. Small group portal improvements. This is a very big thing. Technology, changes so rapidly. And so one of the things that we are always trying to do at Blue Cross is to get feedback from our broker partners, such as yourselves, and what it is that isn't working well. If it works great, that's wonderful. But when it doesn't, or there's processes that need to be improved, we want to do those things. And that's what these are kind of talking about. That first one around system load time, that's a big deal. The work that we did this summer to get that thing course corrected basically takes it from a weighted average to do a load, and I'm going to use OCI as an example. There's about 750 that would show up total for you guys if you were to do a dump, and that would take about 2.5 minutes just to bring it up. This now is going to take that under 30 seconds. So the goal is to save time for you so that you can be more productive and you're not waiting on our systems. So that's a big improvement. The delete function for adding documents in the MGA and the dashboard wasn't something that was there. That's going to help as well. We want to be able to track what's going on with you're doing your bids around the eligible months relative to each group and the effective date. So that's going to be the correlation that will show in the system, which will be an improvement. The next one, I think, is extremely important. We heard this comment over and over again. related to the status of where any application is at in the process. Well, finally, through this modification, they're going to be able to show exactly where those stand. That's a big deal so that you kind of know what is on your book of opportunity that you're working on with us and how it's moving through the system. Updated storage functions, those are another important point. You want to be able to go into the system when you're going to use it and have an updated function that works correctly. So that's an improvement. And then there's other stuff that the team internally is working on right now as we speak to consistently do improvements relative to the small group portal. So the only thing that I would ask for all of you in the room, keep giving feedback back to any Blue Cross and Blue Shield associate. If there's something that you're experiencing that you think isn't running effectively, could work a different way, we want that feedback to funnel back up through our associates so that we can put it into a working queue and then figure out how to improve it beyond what it is today. So that's the form of what we're doing in Small Group Portal. So let's talk about some other group improvements. Blue Flex, as you guys know, if you sell group insurance, and this is our level funded contract, we've been doing this now for about 17 months since the launch of when they first started bidding. We've had a great deal of success with it. So what we're going to do, and this would have went out in a communication piece that would have occurred on 8/20, which was last Thursday, we are removing all of what we call the medical conditions that would have been automatic declines to this product. So that means that you could have had some groups before that were maybe right on the edge of being eligible to join Blue Flex. We would welcome you to reshop those cases in the future and know now that the underwriters will look at every single one of these, and it really becomes an accumulation of conditions as to whether it will meet that DQ status or not, as opposed to, if you remember the underwriting guidelines in their current state before the change, you had any of those conditions, it was an automatic DQ. So we believe that's another opportunity for people that like to deal in the level funded world. And then ASO Block. ASO Block continues to grow for us. We have over 5,300 contracts in this particular line of business. We are going to be reducing our administration expense again January 1, and it's going to be fairly substantial. We believe that will give you a nice opportunity with some of those accounts, and this is a product, as you guys know, that runs from the 51 up range, but we really created it for the 51 probably to the 250 for the majority, because once they get bigger, they really probably look at traditional ASO. But that's a big deal, and then we're pre-packaging several different options that are going to be highly unique that we've never had before around sharing of rebate. So please reach out to your respective associates at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. They can give you a deeper dive into what we're doing there. But we believe that this will probably elicit some more activity around ASO Block bidding for us in 21 and maybe give some success to some of those accounts that we're looking for hybrid models around being self-funded in this environment that we promote, but having opportunity for rebate retention back to the group. Moving over to individual, Armor Health. Re-enrollment approval rate is running at 95%. That's a very important thing. We don't want to have a bunch of folks that don't wind up having an opportunity to re-enroll in our individual short-term medical contract of Armor Health. There will be no application required, so it's going to be automated. We believe that's another big thing. Then, this was stuff that came back in again from all of our broker partners that said, man, when you send out a letter, why don't you tie in my name and number in that letter? So we're actually doing that so that they know, hey, you know, this is Todd. I need to get back in touch with Todd or Chuck or whatever the case would be. So we see that as a huge advantage. And then the re-enrollment offers themselves will run for 90 days. We believe that gives you guys enough time to be able to go through the process and either onboard them or they've made a decision at that point if they don't come with us to move somewhere else. And then finally, for 1/1/21, Chuck, getting back to your conversation about commissions, here is one opportunity where you guys could earn another $25 for each member for anybody that is enrolled currently and re-enrolls or that's new to Blue under the Armor Health product Medicare Advantage, for those folks that are certified in this product line, this continues to grow for us substantially. Was that a 3 or a 4? 3. I'm under the wire. We're adding 42 new counties January 1. That will put us up to a total of 68 counties with Medicare Advantage. This product continues to grow at a very large percentage each year for us. We're having a phenomenal year with MA this year, have completely excelled past our goals. That actually happened in March. We thank you for your partnership and for any sales that you guys have done into our MA product. We are going to enhance the dental benefits of those options, which is another win. And then the last 3 things, they're all new features and benefits that will be part of that product. So telehealth, acupuncture, and a 24/7 nurse line will be available beginning January 1, 21. And then finally, new opportunities. So Blue Cross and Blue Shield has partnered with LifeSecure. LifeSecure is a wholly owned subsidiary of Blue Cross and Blue Shield in Michigan. This just was released in August, very recent, within the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And there's 4 different packages that they are going to put on the table for you guys to be able to promote and make money off of. Hospital recovery, personal accident, and critical illness. Those are basically attributable cash payments back to the member if they have those conditions or diseases take place. And then finally, long-term care in what we call a workplace setting. That's a group-based product where the group could actually sponsor long-term care and the member could acquire it through their employer. They've been highly successful with this, and they've been doing it for years. So that, of course, is much more complex. And so if you're interested in that, you're probably going to need to spend some time with our associates or with the LifeSecure rep to get much more familiar with long-term care products. They're not as easy as the other 3. And then finally, Blue Cross and Blue Shield Dental, we're going to waive the 90-day advance premium on standalone enrollments for 21. Part B services will be waived for Armor and Med Sup. And then we're going to have 2 more max options on dental that we haven't had in the past. One will be a $1,500 annual, and the other will be a $2,000. So that is my update for Blue. I think I'm in below the wire. Maybe there's time for one question if anyone has questions, and if not, we'll wait till the end. Yes, sir. Yeah. So what he asked, if everyone didn't hear, because of what happened with the rioting, the Lincoln office and the Lincoln Mall district, basically they broke all the windows out. They went into the building, destroyed a lot of stuff. It's going to take a while. COVID-19 and the windows that we need for it are on back order, as you can imagine. That happens a lot when you're in this environment, but it's going to eventually be back up and running. And we're going to do one other thing. We're going to take the opportunity to kind of remodel the whole thing at this point because it's been the same format for several decades. So it may be a little bit delayed, but don't worry. That office will once again bloom like a fresh flower in spring, and it will be open. I just don't know what that date is. Pat, stop laughing. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, sir. Yes. So great question. So just to repeat what you said, so everyone hears, he's asking about reinsurance and what broker or what reinsurance partnerships we have today. It is Highmark Insurance Services. Okay, that's one of them. BCS Financial, and the third one is ISU, International Specialty Underwriters. The question that he posed is, will we expand it beyond that? They will probably look at this again in about another 6 months. We try to do it about on an every 6-month basis just to see what the activity is. Remember, guys and gals, it doesn't matter whether you choose one of our 3 or you want to select your own partnership for reinsurance. We will allow anyone else to be the specific stop loss and aggregate carrier for your groups. It's not just those 3. Good question. And I'm probably done, aren't I? Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I do appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. And if you haven't met Laura Raggi, if you want to raise your hand, sales rep. So glad to have you on board. Next up, we have Ms. Stacey Jackson with United Healthcare to give us an update on United.
Good morning, everybody. My cohort, Bryce, was not able to attend today, so I'm doing it solo. But as far as updates with United Healthcare, probably the biggest introduction that I wanted to talk about today is in the 51 to 99 space on the fully insured business, we will be adding Think HR to the product as a no-cost option for your clients. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Think HR. It is a separate entity. We're just purchasing the services for them, for your customers. Part of the reason we've decided to do that is in the 51 to 99 space, a lot of times the HR person wears multiple hats. And so to try to alleviate some of those stresses, we wanted to give them resources and tools that they can have access to 24/7. Some of those services that they'll have available is live, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So they'll have live handbooks. One of the coolest things I think about the live handbook, though, is it's not uncommon for employers to have employees in multiple different states, and not always does the HR person know what the compliance is in those other states. So with the Think HR, they will be able to have a live handbook in each state that they have employees in. So it streamlines that process for them. They'll receive that handbook electronically, so they can upload it if they have a SharePoint site or if they have an intranet, so that members have access to it. Or if an employee comes to them with questions about the handbook or what the policy is in the handbook, they can then email that electronic version out to them. It will help them with wrap documents. It will help them with SPDs. It also gives them access to, and probably I think is a huge piece, almost secondarily to the handbooks, is they have access to senior level certified advisors. So, as we all know, the employees are the biggest asset, but they can also be a big liability for employers as well if there's, a topic that kind of comes into play now is marijuana usage and how to address that in some states where it is legal. They have access to those resources to ask questions about how they handle complications with specific related topics. It can help with OSHA regulations. They do have treatment or access to advisors with OSHA regulations. They have training for OSHA regulations. So if you have employers that have compliance from an OSHA perspective, they have the training for them. All they have to do is share it with their employees so that they can do that online. Also, another big one is discrimination or sexual education, sexual harassment education. So they have those trainings as well for their employees so that they can do that on an annual basis if they want their employees to be compliant. That's probably the one thing that I'm most excited for, but that probably is also because that's my space. The second thing that I kind of wanted to bring up is, and I'm sure many of you have heard, we are rolling out All Savers in the 100+ arena. So we will be now quoting 1-1 new business All Savers for 100 to 300 employees. I'm open for questions if anybody has any. Yeah. Nope, there is no cost for the employees. It's built into the fully insured product. We're hoping 11. We'll have it for sure 11-1, but we're hoping sooner. We're really trying to shoot for 10-1. We're just not sure if we're going to make the timelines from a compliance perspective. And so just for a gauge, and I thought this was an interesting statistic when we sat in on training with the Think HR. So the cost employers can go directly to them if they want to buy their product. It's about $10 per employee per month. And that is going to be built in on the fully insured 51 to 99 space. And part of that, how we can do that, is just being a national carrier. We've rolled it out in other markets, so we're buying it in large quantity. So that helps. In the training we sat on, Texas rolled this out about a year ago and have had huge successes, probably more in that larger arena, in the larger end of the 51 to 99, but they have had huge success and great feedback. And depending on the traction that we have on it, will depend on if we continue to add it to other products. Yeah, Lisa? Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that is being addressed. The hard part is with the COVID, we're just trying to make it as member friendly as possible at this point. But it definitely is in the discussions with our provider networks as they're working through those contracts. I would like to say that, but provider contracts aren't always the quickest thing. So it'll probably take a little bit of time, unfortunately. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Next up, we have Jack Stevens with National General. Jack.
All right. Perfect. Can everybody hear me? All right. Well, like Paul said, my name is Jack Stevens with National General. I'm the group sales rep. I think I know most of you, but I do see some new faces out there. So a little bit different for us. Most of what we've had, I was looking back through some of our product updates, and it's been a busy year and a half or so. We've streamlined our online app process, our online enrollment process in the last year or so. So we've gotten to the point where we can go apps all the way to install, completely integrated online, where groups don't have to pick up any pen or paper, and submit those all seamlessly through our system. We've made a ton of changes to our reference-based pricing product. We continue to streamline that, continue to tweak it, either through underwriting or adding some of the wraps from the network side that we can around that product. We just hit a threshold with that one, and I'm sure if any of you have met Steven, reference-based has slowly become synonymous with us for one reason or the other, but 55% of all groups company-wide with NatGen last month went reference-based. Our retention in Q2 was over 90%. So as someone who, when we were releasing it, admittedly, full transparency, was interested to see how that would work, I think it's all been positive numbers on our end, and we're hoping to continue to see some growth with that. We've now added recently as well with Healthcare Blue Book is now tacked on all those reference-based pricing policies. So that is a cost steerage tool. I always compare it to Yelp for healthcare providers, where they can't go in and they can't see the balance bill numbers, but they can go in and look and see average, below average, above average cost. So it's a great cost steerage tool for them that we tack onto that. Ancillary, we've thrown a standalone dental product on top of our level funded piece that you can pair onto it. So if any of you have started to see ancillary quotes, dental quotes, we have an in-house partner with Nippon too. That hasn't ever shown up before except for the last couple months, so that's been a nice rollout, being able to throw that piece on top. Our 51 plus enrolled space continues to expand. We made some tweaks to that a couple months ago, maybe even pushing a year ago, where we knew it's impossible to ask for health apps in that space. So we've switched to the GRX, to the large group underwriting process on that. It's been great growth. We're hoping to continue to see that space continue to expand, and last but not least, the Allstate acquisition. So again, I wish I had more for everybody. I've had a couple questions on it. I'm interested as much as you guys are in terms of how that's going to look. As soon as I know more, I'll have it. So the bulk of all that is done. It's in force, right? And I can follow up with every one of you if you need more information on it, but it is all done and ready to go. So what I wanted to do was just more of a fresher on getting into fourth quarter as we get into it as just kind of tips and tricks, right? Because if for those of you who've worked with me a lot or even a little, you know that it can get repetitive and we see kind of the same stuff. So when we get into fourth quarter, don't ever hesitate to lean on me. You know, in the small group space, what I always say is, and I stole this from another broker, but it's usually 80% of your time for 20% of your revenues or your margins, right? So if I can ever do anything to push those numbers more in your favor, whether that's field underwriting or being a resource or getting in front of clients or doing webinars, Zoom calls, whatever they might be, my door is always open with that stuff, right? And I've done a number of those with most everybody in here, but especially in the fourth quarter where time management just becomes so critical, make sure that you're getting with me on every single group, give me a buzz, ask about conditions, and we can all work through them a little bit quicker. My goal is never to chase a no. My goal is to put you guys in a position on the agent and broker side to have the best offer that you have from us, right? Consistently, and to be a consistent resource. So we try to provide that education piece. I try to hammer you with product knowledge and give you guys the space too to ask those questions if you're not sure of anything. But if there's anything out there, whether it's you or a group, has questions on or needs follow-up info on, you got to let me know. And of course, the details. It's always the most fun part of my job is asking follow-up questions. So as we go into fourth quarter, if you haven't seen our app, let me know. But again, most of you probably have. It's easy to miss stuff, and the less we can miss, the easier experience it is for everybody. And it's making sure we position the right pieces, right? So, do we need to show reference base? Is there no chance they'll look at it? We now have a narrow network with the lens in Omaha for Omaha groups. Will they look at our narrow network options? So we've got a million different options that we can get up there and throw at groups to make sure that it's the right piece. It's just a matter of getting with us and working through it. So again, it's been busy. It's been kind of a whirlwind. I've joked with some of you even out in the hall that I feel like we've had 3 or 4 fourth quarters in a row with last summer into last year and the first part of this year and the pandemic. But it's been consistent, and we've had a lot of stuff come through. So I just wanted to touch base on all that, give you guys some tips and tricks, some stuff to remember. But if there's anything else, let me know and we can always talk through it. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. I know I threw a lot out there, so if there's anything else in particular, whether it's the dental, reference base, make them easy questions. Yeah. Or none. It's everywhere. I mean, and it's, again, it's an old point that I've made to some of you before is reference base gets the hesitations that the early level funded days get. You know a guy whose husband's sister's wife had level funded, and it didn't work. It wasn't great. You see that hesitation with reference base too, and I think a lot of agents and brokers now, if you pulled them 4 or 5 years ago, I think that they'd probably be a little bit surprised at how much level funding they're actually selling. And that is what we're starting to see pivot with reference base, where it continues to make noise, it continues to exist in the market, providers are still working through it, and it makes for a great experience overall. So it has truly been, and we're in every state except for Hawaii. We've sold it in every state except for Hawaii, Alaska included. So I don't really see it going anywhere. Like I said, we added the network wrap to it because the bulk of the claims that we see on it, it's on the small stuff. It's not on the larger stuff, right? So we're continuing to diversify that product continuing to expand it. They're taking some different looks from the underwriting side on it. All that leads to tell you is that our appetite to continue to write that business is still high, which is what I keep a sharp pulse on, which is why for some of you I ask, how's it doing? You know, how's it running? Making sure that everything is up to par. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Anybody else? Still got a couple minutes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. 40 states. 40 states. So it's either 40 or, yeah, 40 or 41. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah.
Next up is Mr. Pat Bourne with Medica. If I can get you. There we go.
Thank you very much. All right, so Dolsky said that he was only going to talk for 2 minutes and I could have his 8. So you see how that went. My name is Pat Bourne. I'm the market leader at Medica. I want to talk to you a little bit about Medica today. If you've sold individual products, you're familiar with us. You saw our video earlier. We're actually 45 years old, but kind of new to the commercial. What Medica calls commercial, we're trying to change them. Our 15 employee strong office are trying to change the 2,000 employees in Minnesota. They call group product commercial, and I keep reminding them we think of commercial as property and casualty down here. But anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit about Medica. I want you to meet our team. I want to talk to you a little bit about our timeline and key dates, and then I want to talk to you about what makes Medica different. We've spent the last 8-9 months talking to brokers and groups and identifying gaps that we feel are in the market that we're going to fill and do differently, approach the market differently. We'll talk a little bit about our partnerships and our broker partners. I'm moving through this fast because, of course, Mark took my extra time. So Medica, we are a mutual not-for-profit insurance company. You heard John Naylor say that. We exist solely to take care of our members. That's it. That's our only purpose for existence, right? We're 2,000 employees strong. We have $5 billion annually in revenue. We're in 9 states. We have almost 1 million members. You can see the breakdown there. 195,000 individual members, 155,000 Medicare members, and a little over 600,000 in our group space. We're very focused on accountable care organizations. We think that's the future, to get off fee for service and onto value-based medicine. I want to talk about the Medica Foundation. It's really important to our culture that we really are involved in the communities that we serve. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I want you to meet the team. Some of them are here today. We've got myself, I'm the market leader. Jenny Alm is now with us. Jenny will be here at happy hour. Don't know how that. I said, please come early, and I'll be there at 3:30. So do not tell her I said that. All right, so Jenny is a longtime network person. She is going to set up our proprietary network here in Nebraska. We have Sarah Padani. Sarah's got a strong HR background and is doing market development and account management. Corky Stock, wearing the funny-looking jacket. Corky is our large group salesperson. He is going to handle large group sales. Large group to us is anything over 150 employees. Wendy Peterson Stott and Pat Hefner will both be handling individual under 65 up until about 150 employees. So that's our team so far. Timeline and key dates. We just, Chuck mentioned as they were building their office, the COVID happened. As we were expanding our office, COVID happened and we went home. So our newly remodeled, expanded office is ready, willing, and waiting for us. We'll have about 45 employees here in Omaha. We are sales ready now, so if you have any large group quotes that you want to have us bid on, we're ready. We are in the process of broker contracting now. Broker contracts are out, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We had all kinds of activities across the state plan, pre-COVID, in-person meetings and that. We've kind of shifted to a virtual environment. So we will roll out commissions here in September. I think you'll be very pleased. One of the things that makes Medica different is we talk to you. first. Unfortunately, if I want to keep my job, the answer is no. So, all right, so what makes this different? Underwriting. This is what we heard a lot from our broker partners, that there's not a lot of predictability, there's no proactiveness, the underwriting's not transparent, and there's no value of long-term relationships. So we've created an underwriting model that addresses these, right? So predictability. Some of the complaints we heard, you have an 80-90% loss ratio. One group might get a 60% rate increase, another might get 10. So we wanted to add some predictability to that to benefit you and your customers. Proactive. If another complaint we heard is, hey, I had no idea this group was running hot. All of a sudden, I get a high rate increase. So we're going to be proactive throughout the year to talk to you about that. Transparent. You know, if you need an underwriter to talk to one of your clients, we're there. And the other thing we heard is long-term relationships. You know, a client will be with us for 10 years. They'll have a bad year, and you'll give them a huge rate increase, and that doesn't seem fair. And so we're going to value long-term relationships. One of the things that we have that we think makes us different is our relationship with CHI. Kind of unusual, right? Usually carriers and systems keep each other at arm's length. We're going to do it a little differently. We talk to CHI all the time. We believe that'll create some different products, different ways of doing things. For example, industry verticals. So we're looking at manufacturing, transportation. How can we bring the resources of Medica, the resources of CHI, to do something different for those industries, right? ACO reporting, we hear about this a lot in the large group space. You're charging us an attribution fee for our ACOs, but you can't prove that they do anything. So we're going to change our reporting. ACOs. I think most people think of ACOs as a narrow network, right? It's different. There's better outcomes, there's lower trends, there's all kinds of things associated with an ACO, but we as an industry haven't really told the narrative very well, so we're going to change that. Here's our small group portfolio. This will be available soon. I'm going to leave that up. Take a picture if you like. We didn't just lay this down in front of brokers. We laid our template down in front of brokers and said, what do you want to see? So this isn't our portfolio, this is yours, right? So this will be issued here very soon, but again, that's our portfolio. And it's your portfolio. We will have a maximum liability product. It's kind of there are some of the details. We'll have some additional training on that. But again, we do have a max liability product down to 5 employees. One of the things I like about Medica is they recognize that what works in Minnesota won't necessarily work in Nebraska. And when we started with this product, I want to say it was down to 20 employees. We said that doesn't fly here, so they agreed to 5. Of course, the day we announced 5, National General said we'll go to 2. So anyway, but we're going to stay at 5. There'll be additional training on that. Okay, so what makes us different? Our networks, we have Medica with CHI. You'll see a pretty significant reduction in premium between our broad-based network and our ACO. Medica Choice National, we have a travel network. We're building a proprietary network here in Nebraska. That's why Jenny Ohm came on board. She's actively at work doing that. We're looking for network managers, contractors, etc. We've got about 10 openings for our network space. If anybody wants to get out of the producer world and is interested, we'd love to talk to you. The recontracting will be done by the end of next year. Medica Foundation, again, John talked about that in the video. This is a critical part of who we are. We began making grants here in Nebraska in 2018. Last year we donated $400,000 in Nebraska. This year it'll be over $600,000. John mentioned that we put $15 million of our reserves into community banks so that they could loan those out to rural Nebraska. Okay, our partnerships with you. We're going to have an exclusive distribution channel. So we're not going to have every broker or agency. We have been fairly selective. So we'll have about 12 agencies. We do have, of course, our GAs, OCI, of course, and we'll have another 10 agencies or so. We think that because having a narrow distribution channel such as that, we can have some mutual expectations, right? Promptness in return calls, transparency, openness, production, right? So we think that's going to be different. We intend to be very transparent. The worst thing we can do is surprise you. Go ahead. Oh, 3. I thought we had a question. 3 minutes. Actually, I have 11. Transparency. We're going to be very transparent. The worst thing we can do is surprise you, right? If we change a network, if we change a product, we're going to tell you about it. If a group's running hot, you're going to hear about it from us rather than somebody else or later in the year, right? Broker Advisory Council, we've already had one virtually. Those will be real. We're taking input. We want your input. We want to know how to improve. We want to be a different carrier. So, a very real and robust advisory council. The other thing we want to talk about is our annual RX Summit. That's becoming a huge part of a group spend, right? And so we intend to be extremely transparent about our PBM. Service team, we think there's an opportunity to really be proactive with our service. We want service teams that are proactive, knowledgeable, highly responsive. One of the things we heard is that carriers aren't well trained. Carrier reps are not well trained. We're going to change the dynamic. You see what we're doing with group setup and implementation, health and wellness promotion, things like that. Call center. One of the things I just want to focus on this is we're highly trained. All of our call center people are college educated. Sarah Padani talks about our real-time operations center that is right in the middle of our facility in Minnetonka. So with that, I'd take any questions that you might have. There's our building. We're at 180th and Dodge. Recently expanded. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. And Amy, if you want to help me out, there's going to be a little bit more time here for questions for any of the carriers as well as of OCI if you have some. Yeah. Maybe Eric, if you could help out too. We have a great relationship with friends over at Aetna, Molly Stickles and Mike Schlosser. Their companies restricted them from attendance, and so they had some handouts they wanted to get in your hands as far as some updates. And the biggest thing I was hearing from them, as well as really all of our carriers, be more than happy to set up some webinars with your office and do some presentations for you guys or your clients here this fall. So just let us know, let the carrier reps know if you have some interest in that to cover new updates with any of them. But I will let the packet kind of speak to itself as far as some of the information that's in there. I don't know that I would do it justice to go through much of that. Another update I wanted to give you is Bright Health, which you guys have probably all heard of just because they've been on the individual market. They are entering the commercial space. And so they will be another group option here as of 1/1. We'll be the only GA working with Bright Health. But they are also quite excited. They've built out their entire product portfolio. And so there isn't anything announced because they're still waiting on some stuff at the DOI. But as soon as that happens here in the next few weeks, you guys will hear about that from us as well as probably them as well. So I'm excited about another option because it's nice to have options for the clients. So with that, I'm happy to take any additional questions that you might have about either those two items or OCI in general, or glad to leave additional time here for all the rest of our carriers' questions. We're going to get a little extra time here at break. Insurance made simple. Good one. Yeah. Go ahead. Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah, do you guys have a feel? No? The answer would be a no? Yeah, we did see MLR cause rebates. I know United Healthcare was out on that, and so I don't know if you guys have a feel on MLR and how that might play out with your book of business. But yeah, another stat I heard to support both of those this week was that cancer screenings were down 49% this year. Well, that's pretty sad news because that's some people not catching it early. So, yeah, a good question. Anything else? Cool. Well, a big chunk of our group team is in the room, so if you haven't met them, please introduce yourself.